On the economy, which affect employment, we went back to the land. Luckily, we have vast arable land in Nigeria. We have encouraged the young men and young able-bodied person, especially uneducated ones, to go back to the land. How do we do it? We encourage them by giving soft loans to farmers, by the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, by making fertilizer available at half the price it used to be, and by making sure that we stopped importation of food, because we are capable of achieving food security ourselves.
What China has seen in Africa is opportunity. And they have matched that opportunity with an eagerness and a willingness on the part of new progressive governments on the African continent who are desirous for investment, job creation, growth in their economies, redeveloping broken down infrastructure. China saw an opportunity. It matched. Russia has woken up and seen that China is moving very far ahead of them. They have decided also they want a piece of that action. We're telling the world, come, Africa is open for business. Africa's enemies are only those who see us in negative light.
Absolutely.
Africa wants to be a friend to all.
Absolutely.
And is open for business.
Absolutely.
Here we are in the age of the airplane and fast-moving ships, and yet the trade between Saudi Arabia and the Gulf in general is not even a quarter of the trade that existed between Saudi Arabia, the Gulf, and the East African region 200 years ago, when the only vessel available was the dhow. So what does this mean? It means that we are natural partners. It means that our trade existed well before even the colonial era period. These are the trade links that we need to reestablish, to realize that we are natural partners, to realize that the opportunities that exist for mutual prosperity in between our two regions are tremendous. But we must be able to move like our forefathers did, and to realize that we are taking that risk to jump across and to reach out. Because if we focus ourselves on what our TV screens tell us, with their continued story of the dark continent, of a dark continent full of war, of a continent full of disease, you're not going to be able to see through what the Chinese, the Russians, and many in the world are now seeing. That Africa is a land that is transforming, that Africa is a land that is changing, that Africa is a continent of very well-educated, one of the strongest trading blocs on the African continent through the East African community. And when this first disintegrated but later re-established, we have seen that through integration, through creating a common market, through bringing our people together, we are able to create an abundance of opportunities for our people. We have been able, for example, to reduce, because we're talking about larger populations, the cost of telephony because now if it's phone calls between Kenya and Rwanda, for example, they are local calls, they are not international calls. We have been able to see an increase in the trade of volume between our two countries. We have been able to see the free movement of people between our countries. We have been able to take advantage of the larger size of the economy to attract larger investments into the region. We have been able to see a growth in terms of the employment opportunities available to our people. We're looking at strengthening our anti-corruption tools, strengthening our prosecution departments, our courts, our investigative arms, but also through digitization, which is something that we have also seen. Through digitization, creating a much more open, transparent tender and procurement processes that have also helped ease and made it much more transparent in the manner in which especially government does her procurement. And at the end of the day, we have also launched a very intensive campaign in and amongst our population, talking about the evils and vices of corruption. Furthermore, we are also reworking our education curriculum because we want, from a very early age, we want our children to grow up learning the value of being upright, being forthright, and being good citizens. So we want to bring back that moral value in terms of our own education. So it's not just a question of teaching our children English and math and science, but also the importance of upholding true and proper moral values as being the key to any human growth in the future. The issues that were ever perennial about drought, now if there's a bumper harvest in Uganda, huge markets are available in Kenya. If vice versa, there is a bumper milk crop, vice versa, we are able to push it into the Ugandan market. So without doubt, as we have seen with most trade arrangements, coming together as one trading bloc has many, many more positives than it has negatives. And therefore, we are keenly looking forward and very supportive of the continental free trade area, because all we're saying is let us bring all these blocks together. As you may be aware, we had already made tremendous progress towards merging COMESA, the East African Community, and SADC, bringing them into one trading bloc. So this is just one step further. We have just leapfrogged and said we want the whole African continent together. 1.2 billion people, 70% of those below the age of 20, a huge market, huge opportunities in a continent that has today over 40% of the world's resources. So the opportunities are just abundant and amazing.